She saved his life by pulling him out of a burning apartment and lost one eye in the process. But just when she thought the nightmare was over, she uncovered a betrayal darker than the fire itself. What she discovered a month later didn't just break her heart. It exposed a deadly plan she was never meant to survive. Hannah Reed lived a simple, predictable life in a small Ohio neighborhood, where routine felt comforting and safety seemed guaranteed. Everything changed on a freezing February night when a sudden fire erupted in the apartment she shared with her longtime boyfriend, Marcus Lang. Thick smoke filled the hallways within minutes, turning the place she once considered safe into a deadly trap. Neighbors ran outside in panic, but Hannah realized Marcus hadn't followed. He was still inside, unconscious somewhere behind the flames. Without hesitation, she pushed past the smoke and heat, guided only by instinct and love. Her vision blurred and her lungs burned as she fought her way down the narrow hallway, feeling her way toward the bedroom. She found Marcus collapsed on the floor, barely breathing. With no strength to spare, she dragged him out, inch by inch, until they reached the front door. Just as she pulled him over the threshold, a beam fell behind her, sending sparks upward. She stumbled, felt a sharp pain along her face, and her sight faded on one side. Firefighters arrived moments later, carrying her and Marcus to safety. Hannah woke in the hospital surrounded by bright lights and urgent voices, learning she had saved Marcus's life, but lost sight in her left eye permanently. The injury changed her appearance and her future, but she accepted it with quiet strength. Marcus promised he would stay by her side through recovery, grateful for her sacrifice. For Hannah, the fire marked the end of the peaceful life she once knew, yet she believed surviving together meant they would start anew. What she didn't realize was that the fire wasn't the true danger. The real threat was still waiting, hidden behind the man she thought she understood. In the weeks following the fire, Hannah expected life to slowly return to normal, even with her injury and the challenges of recovery. Instead, she noticed a shift in Marcus that felt unsettling. At first, the changes were small. He stayed out longer than usual, claiming he needed fresh air or time to think. His explanations sounded reasonable, so Hannah tried not to worry. But the absences grew more frequent, stretching into late nights with no clear reason. He guarded his phone closely, turning the screen away whenever she walked near. Notifications that once lit up openly were now hidden behind a locked screen. Hannah sensed distance forming between them, not the kind caused by stress, but something more intentional. He avoided eye contact and seemed irritated when she asked simple questions. She noticed unfamiliar scents on his clothes, expensive colognes and floral perfumes she didn't recognize. Their shared bank account showed charges from places Marcus never mentioned visiting, including restaurants in parts of town they rarely went to. At home, he started keeping certain drawers closed and his laptop locked with a new password she didn't know. Hannah tried to convince herself that trauma from the fire was affecting him. She wanted to believe he was processing fear, guilt, or pressure. Yet the coldness in his behavior didn't match someone struggling emotionally. It matched someone hiding something. Marcus's mood swung between impatience and indifference, leaving Hannah feeling like an unwelcome guest in her own home. She felt unsupported during her recovery, even though she had saved his life. What hurt the most was the growing sense that he wasn't just pulling away. He was drifting towards something or someone else. Hannah couldn't ignore the signs anymore. The fire had changed her, but it had revealed something deeper in him she wasn't ready to face. Rumors began spreading around Hannah before she even realized people were watching Marcus more closely than she was. One afternoon, while she was finishing paperwork at the clinic, a coworker casually mentioned seeing Marcus at a cafe across town with a woman no one recognized. The description was vague but unsettling. A younger woman, stylish clothes, confident posture, and a sense of comfort beside him that didn't match a casual meeting. Hannah tried to brush the comment aside, telling herself people often misinterpret what they see. Still, the image stuck with her. Over the next few days, more small hints reached her. A neighbor mentioned seeing a woman entering the apartment while Hannah was at work, assuming she was a friend. Another person recalled seeing Marcus leaning against his car, talking to a woman with bright hair and a striking smile. None of the details matched anyone Hannah knew. Each account came from a different place, yet they all described someone similar. The uncertainty weighed on her, leaving her torn between seeking the truth and fearing what she might uncover. Recovery had already shaken her confidence, and now suspicion began eroding what little stability remained. She noticed Marcus becoming even more cautious about his movements, slipping out early and returning with excuses that lacked consistency. His clothes carried traces of expensive perfume she didn't use, and he often appeared distracted, checking his phone repeatedly as if waiting for someone's response. Hannah realized the situation could no longer be dismissed as paranoia or stress. Too many people, unaware of each other, had noticed the same pattern. The mystery woman wasn't an accident or coincidence. She was a presence shadowing Hannah's life without ever stepping into her view. And the more Hannah thought about it, the more certain she became that this woman represented a secret Marcus had tried hard to keep hidden. Hannah came home earlier than usual on a quiet Saturday afternoon, hoping the extra time would help her rest after a long week of physical therapy. As she walked up the stairs, she noticed the apartment door slightly open, something Marcus never did. A faint sound reached her, movement, soft and hurried. At first, she thought Marcus might be cleaning or rearranging furniture, but as she stepped inside, the truth hit with a force stronger than any flame she had survived. A woman stood in the living room, adjusting her clothes with the familiarity of someone who belonged there. Her appearance matched the descriptions Hannah had been hearing for weeks. Younger, stylish, and far too comfortable in the space that was supposed to be Hannah's safe haven. Marcus appeared seconds later, startled by Hannah's presence. He froze, revealing more guilt in his silence than any explanation could express. The woman grabbed her purse and slipped out quickly, leaving behind a tension that filled the entire room. Hannah looked around and saw details she had missed before: 2 coffee mugs on the table, a jacket draped over a chair that wasn't hers, and a faint scent of perfume still lingering in the air. The betrayal settled in slowly, heavier with each breath. She had lost an eye saving this man from a burning building, believing their bond would grow stronger. Instead, she discovered he had been building another life without her knowledge. Marcus showed no remorse, only frustration at being confronted. His attitude made the moment even more painful, revealing that this wasn't a single mistake, but an ongoing deception. Standing in the center of the home she once cherished, Hannah felt something break inside her. This was not a misunderstanding. It was a truth she could no longer ignore, no matter how deeply it hurt. Hannah spent the next several days trying to process what she had witnessed, but shock slowly shifted into determination. Instead of confronting Marcus again, she began quietly digging into the identity of the woman who had walked so casually through her home. With a bit of online searching, she found social media profiles that matched the woman's appearance. Her name was Lexi Carter, a rising influencer known for flashy photos, sponsored products, and a lifestyle far beyond what her actual income could support. Hannah scrolled through post after post, noticing comments from Marcus hidden under usernames she recognized. Their connection was older than she expected. The more she uncovered, the more disturbing the timeline became. Photos showed Lexi at restaurants Marcus had secretly visited, wearing jewelry Hannah had seen appear mysteriously on their credit statements. Hannah discovered a private account linked to Marcus's email, filled with messages between him and Lexi. The conversations revealed plans for a fresh start, once Marcus handled what he referred to as unfinished matters. The words felt cold and calculated, completely lacking the affection he once showed Hannah. Hidden transactions in their bank records showed money slowly being siphoned toward payments Marcus made on Lexi's behalf. The betrayal wasn't emotional alone. It was financial, planned, and deliberate. Hannah realized Marcus had been preparing to leave her long before the fire. In their conversations, Lexi encouraged Marcus to move faster, pushing him toward decisions that made no sense until now. Hannah understood she had not stumbled into a simple affair. This was a relationship built in secret for nearly a year, woven with deceit and ambition. The fire, her injury, and Marcus's distant behavior formed a pattern she could no longer dismiss. Each discovery pointed toward a truth far darker than betrayal, hinting that the flames might not have been as accidental as she once believed. Hannah's growing suspicion pushed her to look deeper into Marcus's financial activities, hoping the facts would quiet her fears. Instead, what she found only intensified them. While reviewing documents stacked inside Marcus's desk drawer, she discovered a life insurance policy taken out in her name 6 months before the fire. The beneficiary was Marcus, and the payout was unusually large for someone with her modest salary. Hannah remembered signing papers Marcus claimed were for banking updates, never imagining he had slipped these documents among them. The realization sent a chill through her, sharper than the burn scars she carried. She continued searching through his emails and uncovered messages where Marcus asked an insurance agent hypothetical questions about accidents, beneficiaries, and timing of claims. The dates aligned disturbingly close to when the fire occurred. His questions grew more specific over time, focusing on payouts in the event of a fatal incident caused by an accident inside the home. The wording was too precise, too intentional. Further investigation revealed purchases of flammable materials made days before the fire. Receipts showed items Marcus had no reason to buy, especially not in the quantities listed. Hannah remembered the fire investigator mentioning the burn pattern looked unusual, but she had been too overwhelmed at the time to pay attention. Now that detail returned with a new, terrifying meaning. As she pieced everything together, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Marcus had positioned himself as a victim of a tragic accident, but all signs pointed toward him being the architect of it. The fire she had risked everything to escape, saving his life in the process, might have been designed for her, not him. The injury she lived with daily now felt like evidence of an even darker truth. Hannah realized she hadn't been lucky to survive. She had survived something that was never meant to let her walk out alive. Hannah's fear evolved into clarity as she assembled every disturbing detail into a picture she could no longer deny. Marcus had grown careless, leaving behind traces of his actions he assumed she would never look for. Determined to uncover the full truth, she searched his laptop, cloud storage, and discarded mail with a cautious, calculated approach. Each new piece of information added weight to her suspicion that Marcus and Lexi were not only involved romantically, but also financially invested in her absence. Screenshots from Marcus's device showed conversations where Lexi pressured him about timing, reminding him of the plan and hinting that their future depended on it. Their messages were filled with coded language, but the meaning was unmistakable. They had conspired together long before the fire. More receipts revealed Marcus had purchased additional supplies commonly used to accelerate fires, contradicting the story he had told authorities about faulty wiring. Search history logs showed multiple queries about staging accidental house fires, insurance eligibility, and covering financial tracks. Each discovery felt like a piece of a puzzle he never intended her to see. Hannah realized the fire had not been an impulsive act, but a methodically calculated attempt. Understanding the level of danger she was in, she avoided any sign that she knew the truth. She went about her days quietly, speaking gently, and moving carefully so Marcus would not sense her shift in awareness. She avoided sudden reactions, confrontations, or emotional displays that might alert him. Each moment in the house felt sharper, filled with hidden threats she could not expose yet. Instead of collapsing under fear, Hannah began preparing. Her strategy was simple: stay calm, stay observant, and collect everything necessary to protect herself. She knew confronting Marcus alone would be too risky. She needed to outsmart him before he realized his plan had unraveled. Marcus's behavior grew increasingly unpredictable as the days passed, confirming Hannah's fear that he sensed something was shifting around him. He watched her more closely, hovering in doorways and appearing suddenly whenever she moved from room to room. His questions became sharper, probing whether she had been going through his belongings or speaking to anyone about the fire. Hannah responded with practiced calm, keeping her tone steady and her routine unchanged. She knew one slip could make him act sooner than planned. Each night, she slept lightly, listening for footsteps, doors, or anything that hinted at danger. Her unease deepened when she noticed Marcus making late-night phone calls in hushed tones. Once, she heard him mention meeting to finalize things, a phrase that echoed the chilling language she had seen in his messages with Lexi. The next morning, she checked his planner and found an address scribbled inside: an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Next to it was a date and time, only 3 days away. Hannah's pulse quickened as she imagined what Marcus intended. She realized the fire had been only one attempt, and now, with his relationship exposed and his plans unraveling, he might be desperate enough to try again. Knowing she couldn't risk a direct confrontation, Hannah prepared carefully. She gathered every piece of evidence she had uncovered: insurance documents, messages, receipts, search histories, and stored them digitally in multiple secure locations. She backed the files up on an external drive and hid it outside the apartment. The more she observed Marcus, the clearer his desperation became. He moved with forced casualness, but his eyes revealed impatience and anxiety. Hannah recognized signs of someone ready to act, someone who believed he was running out of time. The warehouse meeting wasn't random. It was the final step in a plan meant to remove her permanently. She understood she had only one opportunity left to stop him. Hannah woke before sunrise on the morning of the planned warehouse meeting, her mind steady despite the fear pressing against her ribs. She knew this day would decide everything. Rather than confronting Marcus or attempting to follow him alone, she focused on executing the quiet plan she had prepared. She gathered her evidence, organized files, screenshots, receipts, policy papers, and digital backups, and uploaded everything to a secure folder shared with law enforcement. She also sent a detailed report to the detective who had originally overseen the fire investigation, explaining the new information she had uncovered. Within minutes, she received confirmation that officers were being dispatched to the location Marcus intended to visit. Hannah left the apartment before Marcus woke, avoiding any suspicion. She positioned herself far from the warehouse, yet close enough to stay aware of the unfolding situation. Her hands shook slightly as she waited in a nearby parking lot, watching unmarked police vehicles move toward the address. Marcus and Lexi arrived shortly after, unaware they were walking directly into a trap. They entered the building together, expecting privacy. Instead, officers surrounded the warehouse, approached quietly, and detained them without resistance. Inside, authorities uncovered printed plans, burner phones, and notes outlining the staged accident attempt. Messages retrieved from Lexi's device confirmed their shared motivation: financial gain and a life free of complications. Marcus attempted to deny involvement, claiming the fire had been accidental and the meeting innocent, but the collected evidence contradicted every word. Hannah watched from a distance as Marcus and Lexi were placed into separate vehicles, their expressions changing from confidence to shock. For the first time since the fire, she felt air fill her lungs without the weight of fear. She hadn't confronted them physically, but she had outmaneuvered them completely. The danger was finally in someone else's hands. The arrest of Marcus and Lexi marked the beginning of a long, exhausting legal process, but for Hannah, it also marked the first moment she felt truly safe since the fire. Investigators spent weeks reviewing the evidence she had collected. Every receipt, message, search history, and financial record painted a clear picture of a carefully planned scheme meant to end her life. The fire was confirmed as intentional, with burn patterns and accelerants matching the items Marcus had secretly purchased. Insurance specialists testified that the policy he opened on her name was unusually large and deliberately structured to benefit him quickly. During the trial, the truth reached the public, gaining attention due to the shocking details: a woman who saved her partner's life, only to learn he had engineered the disaster meant for her. Lexi's cooperation further exposed the plot. Her testimony revealed the depth of their planning and confirmed Marcus's motive. Both were convicted on multiple charges, including insurance fraud, conspiracy, arson, and attempted harm. Marcus received a lengthy sentence, and Lexi faced significant prison time for her involvement. With the legal battle settled, Hannah focused on rebuilding the pieces of her life. She moved to a new apartment, one filled with light and far from the shadows of her past. She used her settlement money to support her recovery and later devoted part of it to establishing a small local program assisting survivors of trauma. Helping others gave her purpose, allowing her to transform her experience into something meaningful. Though she carried the scars of the fire and the emotional weight of betrayal, Hannah no longer felt defined by them. She walked forward with quiet strength, knowing she had survived not only the flames but the cruelty hidden behind someone she once trusted. Her story became a testament to resilience, courage, and the power of uncovering the truth, no matter how dark it may be.